Waterworks and Lighting Commission meeting to order. The first thing we need is approval, additions or corrections to the minutes of the regular commission meeting held on July 14th.
Also move.
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
I only heard one aye.
What you acquired.
All right.
Cracking down today.
The other, we have a special commission meeting held on August 20th. Somebody like to make a motion?
So move.
All right, that was John Bergen.
I'll second that.
Rick made, seconded. Any other discussion? If not, all in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I believe there are no action items today. As far as department updates, safety committee meeting.
Looks like training resumes in October then, Sean?
Yes,
Okay.
it's nice to have a little break in the summer, but
It
it's also
is.
nice to get things going back and, yeah, we got a pretty tight training schedule for October. September, October, it's actually September it starts back up. We got some fall protection training coming up. So September, October, and then I think we have one at the beginning of November as well.
Okay,
And then
good.
we shut it down for hunting / vacation / holiday
Holiday.
season, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? If not, the line superintendent's report.
You see the call to Eagle River, what were we doing up there?
Oh, they had a storm come through and just wanted some help for a day.
One day, okay.
And you indicated customer completed projects, what project?
Oh, any new construction type of work, someone built a new house, then they pay us to build the power in.
Okay. And I see 2 months in a row underground faults, what's going on there?
Nothing uncommon, I guess, just odd that it happens 2 months in a row, but I mean, we have faults regularly.
Any particular cause?
Generally, it's stuff that's not in conduit, so there's rock sitting on it or something like that.
Utility before I got here, direct buried and didn't put anything in conduit. Okay, falls eventually.
Yeah.
So what we're doing now, we're not having any,
No direct buried cables, no, we put everything, when we have a cable fault, then we put in a piece of conduit and pull the wire.
okay. But anything that we've put in recently, we're not having any issues with it?
No.
And no animal related outages in August?
I guess not.
I guess not. And I don't know, if it
So
just didn't make the list, but the 12 weather related, what's the record? Some of the past storms, I mean, what's?
For July of 2009.
That's just call-ins.
Yeah.
With the hurricane, was there any mutual aid request?
Nope, I think they handled that pretty much from everybody down south.
I think the last time you
MEW
went
was
was
staying on top of it, but
Was it on the East Coast, was it New York last time you did
they
send
spent most of the time in Pennsylvania the last time we sent that.
So do we have a policy on how far we go or, I mean, if the call is, if you get a call, we go?
We do, depending on how big the storm was and how many people they need. Generally, we won't have to go that far. I think we've sent guys to Florida once, we
Once or
sent them
twice.
to Pennsylvania. But they're well compensated for the time and we don't make them go unless they want to volunteer to go. But MUW and our state trade association, American Public Power, both heavily stress mutual aid. That way utilities don't have to size up for big storms, they just get help from everybody else.
How far away did our support come from? We had our big storm.
Ours were all basically munis in the state of Wisconsin. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
Rough.
two in the UP is all that came, but they're still MUW.
we over 100 linemen decided their own.
Yeah, it's pretty nice to have that exchange in place.
Very good.
We need it.
Any other questions of Josh? If not, the water department operations report.
We discussed the well cleaning, number 5, a little bit. What was the method used, and that's kind of a repeat, right?
You know, well fire is gonna be a continual monitoring and clean well because of the high iron in it. What they did this last time, a little bit different than the time before, is they used chemical to break it free along the screens, and then they went in with a air burst, and they went, as they go down, they give it a burst of air, and they increase the pressure every time they come through, made a pass, so went from 80 pounds up to like 800 pounds of pressure, bursting back out to break things free, and they pump out that solution or whatever you want to call it, waste free, and they repeat until it's cleaned out. I think they made like 6 or 7 passes with the air burst. Seen some of the videos when they pumped it out, it was dark red, worse than Jay's shirt. So it seems to be pretty effective so far. They're pumping out almost 500 gallons a minute again. So we had them install a 1-inch stainless steel pipe that goes down to the screens, which gives us 10 feet before it actually goes into the pickup at the bottom of the pump. And we're going to inject chlorine down in it, but that pipe can also be used in future dates. If we see it dropping off before it gets really bad, like this last time, we can address it and have it chemically cleaned prior, so we don't have to pull the pump out. It's considerably cheaper. So it's a thing we'll probably have to look at doing yearly. There's other communities who have the same situation. They were doing like every 5 months. And by doing it like we're thinking about doing it, expanded it out to like 9 months intervals. So it's cleaning out further and pulling this stuff in. So that's the goal, is to clean it less often as the time goes on. So it's going to be a repeat customer for cleaning.
I didn't realize the screens could handle that pressure.
Yeah, it's just a short burst. It's not
Okay.
lots. It's like a pulse. Just to break things free. It goes out into the soil area beyond the screen.
Okay,
So
sounds like very good results.
I wanted to share an anecdote. I had my granddaughter over from Plover here, and we were having lunch, and I asked her what she wanted to drink, if she wanted chocolate milk or juice box, and she goes, "No, can I have some of your good water?"
just it down.
We said, "Sure." And I was like, wow, I felt proud to be a commission member.
Are there any other lead services being scheduled, or is that winding down?
Nothing scheduled right now. If we find something that comes up, we'll do it. 18th Avenue has a couple there working on that project, so we're taking care of them obviously as we go along. But
Okay,
yeah, nothing scheduled at this point.
thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions, comments? If not, the customer support supervisor's report.
What's the big reason for the big drop in current payment arrangements?
In current payment arrangements?
Yeah,
Well, we're quite far into the disconnection season, so most of the people that wanted a payment arrangement have created theirs in the beginning of the season. If they're on their second disconnect, then they don't get another one. So we usually have a flood of them in the beginning, in April and May, and then we usually have much fewer as we wind down into August and September.
okay.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Is the trip in the SDC, is that collections pretty much towards the end now?
Actually, we just sent out quite a few letters, to SDC. We're gonna do that on a monthly basis now for people who move out and leave a balance, just to try to kind of collect as fast as we can on that. So we just are kind of tweaking some of our, some of the ways we've done this to see if we can be more successful in the future.
Okay.
The collection portion of it though definitely dwindles down. I think we got about $1,500 this week out of that program where in tax season it's
Yeah, I
definitely
don't think there wouldn't be much in tax refunds at this moment.
right.
What are we finding with these cross-check? Any issues discovered?
And cross connects. The only big issue that we've ever discovered with that, I don't think there was one property that was out of compliance, but if there is a location that has a private well that we don't have in the system, we have uncovered a few of those.
And what is the well inspection?
Well, if you have a private well and you're sprinkling your lawn, it has to be inspected every 10 years through the DNR requires us to do that, or requires it to be inspected, but we just inherited this from the city, so we're still working out some of the issues.
So what is that inspection entail?
Do you want to answer this, Dale? You probably have a much better answer than I
The
will.
biggest thing with a
Well, that's
private
bacteria.
well, if they have city water, I'm sorry, is that you don't want the city and the private,
Yeah, that I understand.
the inspection to the walls and make sure if the wall's in good shape, that it's not caving in, that you can get contamination, fertilizer or whatever, that you have a sound casing and stuff. So it's just a matter of making sure that it is in good operating condition and make sure it actually exists. There is, what we found in the records that we got from the city is that some wells that are on the city record are not on the DNR record, so we have a mess we have to get cleaned up. So it's a process we're going through. We'll get to it eventually, get to all hooked together eventually, but just make sure everything is working well and no chance of contamination, because if you contaminate the groundwater, it could eventually get into your own personal well if you have that, or if you have our wells close by, you can do the same thing there, so.
The last time I went through it, I had to take a water sample, put it on ice, all that.
You still have to get a bacteria sample, make sure your water's safe too.
Yeah, DNR recommends every year you should take a water sample, because things change over the course of a year. So it's a good practice to get into if you have a private well.
But this was a mandatory one from the,
DNR required.
I don't know, I don't remember where it came from.
years.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments? If not, the Director of Finance report.
Just last month or 2 months ago, I guess now, we talked about in the case of expense versus capital, that you would look at taxes pilot,
Right.
and you would also look at the impact on rate cases.
Correct.
And I'm wondering if we shouldn't also take a look at the impact on rate payers. In other words, what is the impact going to be on the customer?
Sure. Yeah, we're doing some of that initial work right now as we're going through the budget process and just kind of scoping out, those different items that could become expense that are capital today. Today, if that item gets capitalized, the next time we go through a rate case, we're gonna earn a rate of return on that asset. We're also gonna be paying a pilot on that asset for the next, 50 years until that thing gets replaced. So there's the trade-off, but yeah, we'll definitely look at all the pieces of it before we make a decision like this, and I'm sure we're all well aware of
But one of the
that.
things we haven't talked about is what does it actually mean to the rate payer?
Sure, yeah, you go through a rate case and it's ultimately gonna either be in your operations or it's gonna be in your rate of return, so definitely take a look at that and see what's best for the customer too. I would agree.
And a June report for the water and the electric, the customer account expense seems to have gone up quite a bit. On the water, it looks like it's gone up like 60,000. And on the electric, it looks like it is up almost 100,000, 90,000.
The electric's up, maybe I'll comment, the bad debt expense was about a $48,000 swing on the electric side, which is that customer account expense total.
Okay.
So that's part of that. The other part, you may or may not remember, we did some changing to the percentages that we charge the electric and the water utilities for all the common expenses. So the water is using more of that, or taking up more of those expenses this year than they haven't in the past, so they're kind of picking up more of their fair share, which increases that a little bit. We also had a little more expense with our bill print redesign this year. I think those are the main things on what's driving that up.
Isn't the company that does the billing for us, have they had a cost increase?
I don't think they've increased this year at all. They did some simplification of their billing, but I think the rates stayed the same this
Okay.
year. We just had, what was the bill redesign, was like 11?
It's not, well, 9 or 10.
Okay, so what, 10,000 to redesign our bills, so that was, again, split between the water and the electric, so that increase went in there too.
Okay.
And when we say, again, NSF Payments, those are just,
Those are people that wrote bad checks to us
and
So
so
we're-
far, it's like 33 grand this year.
for the total for the year, right? You can see it averages about, between 3,000 and 4,000 a month. A lot of those do get collected, because they'll get put on the next utility bill. That way it's a non-payment, so again, you could look at it as either a expense or a negative revenue, but a lot of that we're gonna collect and it's gonna be above in the utility receipts. So even though we're saying we had $33,000 of NSF payments, very likely we collected a large portion of that.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. So this is not,
It's not bad.
yeah, okay.
Any other questions of Jeff? If not, Information Systems Administrator, I guess Matt is on vacation today?
Yeah.
One more on the investment report. Is our overseer looking carefully at Illinois housing and New York State dormitory and Fallbrook, California? Those places are notorious for going south.
I do think, that they do have our investment policy that it needs to be, backed by either the state or some other entity or FDIC limitations. So I can double check with them on that, but I'm assuming their due diligence they're doing before they present this investment to us.
Don't you think the risk assessment is that, they wouldn't totally default, but, I mean, that, when you view the 25 bonds or so,
Yeah.
there's probably always one guy in there that might,
Yeah, everything
but
else.
I understand there's some pretty shaky states at the moment, New York and
California,
Illinois, California.
very shaky. Just for the information systems, where is this location for RMM Solutions? Anybody
It's
know?
in the Milwaukee.
Milwaukee area?
And that makes, that makes sense to have it off-site like that. I don't know, to me, it always seems the more you move it around or, that you open up, but I know very little about cybersecurity.
It's more of a backup situation, yeah, in case we lose our data here.
Is that where your information is just stored and it's not?
Well, it's stored there, but it's syncing up, I understand, it's running
syncs up with
concurrently
us?
together, yeah. As
Okay.
things change here, it changes down there.
Okay.
But we can ask Matt to verify that when he gets back, but I think that's how it works.
Yeah, I think all those do open up another avenue for infringement, if you will.
Yeah.
Because of the transmission and
Yeah.
because of their own vulnerabilities, whatever they might be.
And it always seems that whenever you hear this happens, it's always somebody didn't know that somebody had another open server to some other network that was involved and where they would be able to get into.
Yeah.
Somebody unknown.
So they're storing 50 different businesses or maybe 1,000 different businesses, and all of those folks have interactions, so you just have more vulnerability.
And so far, we're not criticizing Matt, I'm not. He's
No,
done a
no.
pretty good job so far,
Yeah.
keeping us safe. All right, anything else that we can't ask Matt? If not, let's go to the conservation manager's report.
Sean, do you know if we've seen a measurable reduction in consumption at Lincoln when they put that rooftop solar on? I don't know what that was, like a 30 kilowatt system or something like that.
They're using at the time, we never buy back from
Yeah.
them. So they've reduced it minimal, they're a large customer.
Yeah.
They're using a lot of power, so it's very minimal, that's. But yes, to answer the question, has it come down? Very insignificant, I guess.
Would you like to share publicly at this meeting the partnership with Focus on Energy with the industrial and commercial customers?
Yes, in the last, I guess, month and a half, 2 months, the utility is partnering with Focus on Energy, kind of on a different level. This suggestion I made several years back. And finally, we have gotten a commitment from Focus to allow the utility to reach out to the customers, kind of on a little bit different level than what is typical from them, knowing about the program, calling, or me just talking with a customer for whatever reason, bringing it up. So far, it's turned into, it's been great. We've had 5 on-site visits where we arrange the time period. We go into an industrial or commercial customer. We look at, from a utility aspect, I'm looking at, are they on the best rate? Time of day, what we can do from there. Do they have a power factor penalty, which we can assist with, and I can recommend capacitor banks. From the Focus aspect, they're looking at anything that is an incentive program, like the LED lighting incentive program, HVAC, it could be cooling seals, ventilation. And so usually it's 2 energy advisors and myself, and we just walk through the facilities and we have a little discussion afterwards. Kind of consists of the report that we send them afterwards to, what our recommendations are. We send them exact specifics of how much we think they could shave off their demand and how large of a dollar savings that is. And they also, Focus will also write those incentives for them if they don't have time. You know, a lot of these smaller businesses, commercial customers, they don't have the time for it.
Right.
So those energy advisors are pretty supportive that way.
Well, that's
If a
good.
commercial customer isn't working with, say, like a trade ally, through Focus, they typically can write them. However, the Focus advisors probably write them more thoroughly and can look at certain things, and you're probably familiar with this at the university. You can write, there's prescription incentives that can be written, and then there's custom. And sometimes the custom incentive works out a lot better. So they can be written by energy advisors versus a trade ally.
Okay, that's a good partnership.
And it's been going great. We've had, in fact, I had one yesterday, so we've now visited 6. And I got a list of about, 10, 11 that I have been in contact with, and we'll just keep on hitting it hard.
That really complements what you're doing at
Thank you.
this level. Okay, good, thank you.
Are there any other questions of Sean? If not, the Director of Engineering, Electric Operations report.
You mentioned annual battery maintenance. What kind of batteries do we actually use for?
They're like the lead acid and,
They are.
yeah, they have like a calcium plate in them, which is, I think, rated for substation use because it'll hold the voltage longer.
Where's Northern Battery?
Go to Madison.
The Ocean Spray breaker testing, is that breaker on our side? That
Yeah, typically what we'll do is open the breaker on our side, so then their entire plant is out of power from a safety standpoint, and then they can do what they need to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Looks like the Werner Electric Conference was worthwhile going.
Yeah, it was actually very worthwhile. It was nice to see the new PLC equipment that we plan on installing next year. Seeing it actually being used on the
Right.
plant floor, and just seeing the footprint of it, and then looking at some of the software, that's always nice to see before you actually put it in.
How is their delivery right now?
Not so great. Nobody's is. Any of that equipment, they've kept back a certain amount of their key components for emergencies, which is nice. But luckily, we haven't had anything that failed that we didn't have our own spare part for as of
Do
now.
you feel comfortable it's going to be done next year, or
Yeah,
should you
yeah,
plan
no,
on getting it
even
kicked
the
out of here?
speakers at the conference said they felt all these bottlenecks would be gone by the end of the year. So they're pretty confident they'll have product available next year.
Do you have a preference when to do this upgrade?
Probably it's gonna take the entire year to do, because,
Well,
yeah, we'll probably pick a processor, like one processor a week, and just try to do one a week, something like
Okay.
that, instead of trying to do them all at the same time. Just a lot easier from a troubleshooting standpoint than if something doesn't work, we know the last step we took is what caused the problem,
Right, I like that idea.
yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments for Todd? If not, the general manager report.
I see a new management services contract, new in Manitowoc.
To do the glue-related activities, yeah. on the power supply side.
And do they have a new manager?
They do. He's been, actually started in July of last year. During COVID, Troy Adams. But because we didn't get to spend much time with him, we weren't meeting a whole lot in person last year, we extended Nelosh's agreement 1 year this year to still handle the heavy lifting at Blue until he got settled at Manitowoc and took on those duties. So starting, and that's what a lot of the contract reflected, and then he'll take over the managing director duties from Nelosh in January of next year.
Okay. And then in this water main construction area, is the fact that the mayor is looking at these DARPA funds, I didn't get the real answer here. Are they gonna collaborate and cooperate here so that we can do?
Apparently, he says that they can be used for construction of water mains. So what we heard initially was that they were going to take the funds from that act and use them for main construction in 2022 so we could do the raw water main project.
Okay, so that means our crews would then have to be involved in the city water?
Correct. Well, I spoke with Dale and he felt that they could break away to do the service taps and lead replacement and what have you, because the contractor's going to be doing most of the heavy lifting for us on the relining. We'll just have to do some little bit of digging and shepherding them around town.
I checked with the mayor and it sounds like we're on track for this. Don't wanna commit to a number, but I think it was sounded reasonable, Jeff, yeah.
I won't stay up awake at night worrying about our raw water mains.
Anything else to jump? If not, the accounts payable.
So our agreement with Davey with the 2 crews, is that indefinite or was that for a specific period?
There's no time frame on
Okay.
the 2 crews, or, you know, if we went to a 3 or 1, there's no, we didn't
Oh,
have
okay.
a term contract on that.
Josh says forever.
So,
Still a lot of square mile service territory.
I'd like to think that's not true, but it seems to be what I've heard.
Well, we'll see how it goes, but right now they're finding plenty enough to stay busy, correct?
Yeah, it was amazing to hear, at least that's what the reporting said, what, with Ida, that more poles were down than in Katrina and whatever, the last 3 hurricanes or whatever, that more poles were down in this one.
They're still got people out down there, I think.
Yeah, last I heard was still like 500,000.
I was gonna say 600,000.
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
under-
yeah.
Through October, I think.
Are there any other comments about accounts payable? I don't know if there was one, but. All right, would somebody like to make a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
All right. Second, all in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.